indicated, he wants us all to work together. We are not working in silos. We're working as one federal government. And again, Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, has been a great partner in this effort. And so we are going to continue the pressure. We are going to get compliance. And in the end, if it takes money, if it takes pulling states' ability to issue CDLs, we will stop at nothing to make sure that our roads are safe. You've seen the videos. You have a family out for a Sunday drive or a couple driving home on a weekday afternoon, and tragedy hits because we have people on the roads that aren't safe, that aren't qualified, that should never have a driver's license, and lives are lost. And it's our job in this department to make sure that people are safe. They expect us to look out for their safety, and that means that we have to use every tool we have to make sure we get compliance with these rules so Americans can feel safe when they go on the roadways, that they have well-trained, skillful drivers of these big rigs that aren't going to take their or their family member's life. With that, I do want to turn it over to Derek Bars, our FMCSA administrator, for additional comment on this, and then after, we'll be happy to take a few questions from you if you have any.
Thank you, Secretary. I also want to just to start off with, I want to thank the Indiana Commercial Vehicle Enforcement Division for their great partnership that we have. Me being a former law enforcement officer for nearly 30 years, doing roadside inspections, I know how important it is, and the work that they do is valuable to commercial vehicle safety. And I also want to thank our other law enforcement partners who are doing this across the country, who are actually assisting us in cracking down on the unsafe and unqualified drivers that we have. I want to touch a little bit about what Indiana has done with some of their inspections, just to highlight the great work that they're doing, and that also highlights the work that our other partners are doing across the country. Over the last 30 days in Indiana alone, 191 inspections were conducted that resulted with English language proficiency or commercial vehicle driver violations. That's unacceptable. Let me break this down for you just a little bit. Of those 115, there were CDL violations, and that included no CDLs, as the Secretary just mentioned, unqualified drivers, suspended driver's license, or just being disqualified. And 76 of those were EOP, English Language Proficiency violations. As the Secretary also mentioned, we need to look at every step and everything, every tool in our toolbox, which includes the entry-level driver training schools, where safety truly begins. This is when a new driver comes in, he gets the training that he needs to be a professional driver. You can't make that up on the back end. It's got to be on the front end. It's very, very important. So that's, as I said, that's where the rubber meets the road. We want to ensure every driver on the road is qualified and has safety in the forefront of their minds, because we only want professional and safe drivers on our roadways. And to have that, they must follow our standards. And if you do not want to follow our standards, then you need to stay out of the profession. Soon, here at FMCSA, we will be announcing recent activities that we're doing to take and to ensure that entry-level driver training schools are being upheld and those standards are being upheld. And as the administrator of FMCSA, I want to make this perfectly clear to the driver training schools. If you are not following the rules and you're not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, we're going to ensure that we put you out of business. We're going to come after you. I also want to thank Secretary Duffy for his work, our FMCSA partners, and our state partners who go out every single day and are trying to make sure that our roadways are safe, and we do that also with our industry partners in this critical safety issues that we have. So thank you very much, sir.
Just want to note that this is not a problem that developed overnight. This is a problem that's been evolving over years. And as I took this job, I would get outreach immediately from truck drivers about the problem we have with non-citizens, foreigners, non-English speakers driving on our roads. It was a huge issue. The difference is the last administration didn't pay attention to it. They didn't care about it. They didn't focus on it. And that's not this administration. And so I do want to thank Derek and his team who have done outstanding work, making sure that we're looking around every corner so we can make sure we get compliance and we keep every single American safe. And with that, if you guys have any questions for us, we're happy to take them, yes.
I have a question about the Essential Air Service program. Earlier this month, the department said that it found enough funds to keep the program going or continue to fund the program through November 2nd. That's the Sunday. Does the department know what's going to happen to the program's funding after the Sunday?
So I don't have any additional information that we were able to find more resources to keep the program going. It's critical for many, as I come from small town America. It is a lifeline to small town America that they have access to commercial flights. It's specifically important to Alaska, where they don't have a lot of roads. They access their communities via air. And again, we'll look to see if we can find additional resources. I haven't been briefed on it recently, but there's an easy answer to this, an easy solution. Open up the government, fund the government. It's a clean CR, and then sit down and negotiate the differences that you have. So this is in the hands of Senate Democrats. Are they going to be driven by their left-wing base, or are they going to be driven by common sense? Common sense solutions, common sense negotiations, but not a negotiation that happens by way of holding one side hostage to just get your way.
And I had a follow-up question about air traffic control overall. The FAA had said they expected to name an integrator by the end of the month. Is that looking likely at this point? When could it be integrated?
So I'm meeting with the teams on Monday. We're well into the process of interviewing integrators, and in short order, we hope to have the integrator selected so we can move even faster in our modernization of the airspace. I would just note that we had $12.5 billion from the Big Beautiful Bill. I'm grateful for the Congress for sending that to us. I would note that we need about another $19, $20 billion to complete the project. So I do hope as Congress gets back in session and they start to think about what are the priorities of the country, they'll keep in mind that we only got partial funding and we need additional funding to complete the job. Yes?
How close would you say we are to closing down the airspace like today or at Oakland? I know there's an average delay of more than 4 hours due to just staffing, and we've seen that all across during the shutdown.
So that's a great question. What's going to happen in the future? It actually is, some days are worse than others. The weekdays can be a little bit lighter. Weekends are a little tougher, more travel on the weekends. Scott Kirby from United made this point in the meeting today with the Vice President. He said, listen, August is the best weather month to fly because weather is also a component. And traffic is a little less in October than in other months. And so we have a benefit of those two things right now, but we're still seeing delays and some cancellations. And we're going to take it day by day, but I'll tell you this, I've spent a lot of time with controllers, and there is great frustration that they're not being paid. And these are, the orchestra that they conduct with airplanes, the dance they do in the sky, these are remarkably talented people. And they want to be treated by their federal government based on the skill that they drive into our airspace. And so, I think as each day goes beyond that last paycheck that didn't come, the stress gets bigger. And that happens because every day, all of us know, every day we have expenses. Gas in the car, food on the table, a gas bill comes in, or an electric bill comes in, or a TV bill comes in. Probably by now you've already canceled Netflix or some other streaming service. They're already cutting back. But then their child comes home and says, I want to play basketball this winter, and it's going to cost $200. And the controller has to say to their child, by the way, they make a good income, we can't afford it. Maybe later, maybe you can pay later and you can get on the team. Not only that, our controllers in our bigger facilities can make some good money. But we have controllers who are out of the academy that are being trained up. They don't make a lot. They might have a young family. They may only have one income. The pressure on them is very real. And as I'm trying to expand the number of controllers that we have in our airspace, you guys know we're about 2,000, 3,000 air traffic controllers short. We're trying to bring more young people into the academy and through the academy, which, by the way, this year we're already up 20% more. than they were in the previous year. So what we're doing is working. I've offered controllers who are at the age of retirement, I've offered to pay them 20% of their salary up front as a bonus to stay on for a year. I'm doing everything I can. This makes it way harder for me to get new controllers to come in and to keep the controllers that I do have working in the airspace. And long after you all forget about the shutdown, I'm going to deal with the consequences of the shutdown as I'm trying to build up controllers in the airspace. And I appreciate the question because I can't predict the future, but I can say that if it doesn't end soon, day by day, I think it's going to get worse. More delays, more cities, and 4 hours might look like a walk in the park versus what's going to come if Democrats don't open the government. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. One of the reasons that so many non-citizens are driving big rigs on American roads is because, as truck driving companies report, there's a shortage of people who are wanting to take these jobs. They're very long-haul jobs, very intense. They involve long hours. Sometimes the pay may not be as competitive. So given that shortfall of American workers to take those jobs, what is the Trump administration doing to skill up those workers to create that domestic labor supply? And if you start enforcing these rules strictly, are you concerned that the absence of non-citizens is going to lead to shortages in truck driving that will then affect supply chains, transportation networks, etc.?
I think it's a fantastic question. And I think you have different data than I have. There's a lot of Americans who want to get behind the wheel of a big rig. These are and have been really great paying jobs. But when you will bring someone in who doesn't have a driver's license, they'll drive that truck for a much lower rate. Or someone who unlawfully got their license, they'll drive that rig for a much lower rate. And so what's happened in the industry is they've driven the prices down. And a lot of companies that have been around for a very long time are now starting to go out of business. So I do not buy the idea that there's not enough American truck drivers. To the contrary, there are enough American truck drivers to meet the demands that we have in this country. This was concocted in a way to allow people to come into our country, to get licenses, commercial driver's licenses unlawfully, and then get behind the wheel. And I don't think that that's the appropriate approach. We have a long history of great American truck drivers who, by the way, they're almost like our air traffic controllers or our pilots. They take their jobs very seriously. What they do on American roads, they think is of utmost importance because it's not just their lives, it's the lives of the people around them on our highways and freeways that they're concerned about every single day. Great professionals. And so I think you'll see American truck drivers fill the space when we do what's right and take out these unlawful drivers. And just a side note, never should we compromise safety. Never should we say we should put an unqualified driver in a big rig, in an 18-wheeler, and set them loose on our roads and think that that's a great solution. You've seen the videos. People die when we do that. That is not the answer. It is to, if you need more drivers, make the case. Tell people how great the industry is, how much you can make in a year by driving a truck. And it will be met with, I think, a number of applicants if we need those new truck drivers to come in. So I feel very confident that if we're able to take out the unlawful, untrained, non-English speaking drivers, we will not have an issue on our roadways. We will not have issues with our deliveries. Our products will move, but they'll move safer because we have better drivers who are driving those big rigs, who have legal licenses and can actually speak the English language. With that, thank you guys very much. I appreciate it.